My cousin loved making fun of my stutter at every family dinner until his wedding speech. My cousin Adrien thought my stutter was comedy gold. Every family gathering became his personal roast session at my expense. Christmas 2019. I'm telling grandma about college. I'm studying business administration. Adrien jumps in. Business. Try speech studies instead. The whole table erupts laughing. Thanksgiving. He brings a stopwatch to dinner. Times every word I say. 30 seconds for pass the salt. New record, Oliver. Easter 2020 was the worst. Adrien films TikToks mocking my speech. Exaggerated faces, stupid gestures. Gets 50,000 views. I beg him to delete it. It's just comedy. Relax. My stutter started in 7th grade after getting jumped at school. Stress-induced trauma. Most days it's manageable. But when I'm nervous, words jam up like a broken machine. Adrien weaponized this against me constantly. Adrien was obsessed with being center stage at every family event. When his brother Evan got engaged, Adrien immediately started planning his best man speech. This will be legendary, he bragged at Sunday dinner. 20-minute masterpiece. Hollywood couldn't script this better. People will talk about this for years. He practiced for months religiously. I'd catch him in bathroom mirrors, gesturing dramatically at his reflection. He had note cards, backup cards, laminated copies, the full production setup. While helping Aunt Helen clean photo albums one afternoon, I found something interesting buried in Adrien's old school box. Speech therapy certificates from elementary school. Turns out the golden boy had severe childhood stuttering that required years of professional therapy to overcome. I mean, the irony was absolutely perfect. I took photos of everything with my phone, just in case I ever needed them. Wedding day arrives in June. Beautiful outdoor ceremony. 200 guests. Open bar flowing since noon. Adrien worked the crowd like a politician, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, the whole performance. Downing champagne steadily, liquid confidence. He winked at me across the reception hall. Watch and learn, Oliver. This is how you command a room. Dinner ends at 8. DJ introduces Adrien with fanfare. Ladies and gentlemen, the best man's been working on something special for months. Let's give it up for Adrien. Adrien takes the mic, grinning ear to ear. The room goes silent. This was his moment. Everything he'd built toward. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother Evan has always been my hero and best friend. Then it happened. Champagne, adrenaline. 200 eyes watching, perfect storm conditions. Evan and I used to play baseball in the backyard every summer when we were kids. The room's energy shifted completely. You could feel the discomfort spreading like a wave. Adrien's eyes went wide as his childhood speech patterns flooded back under pressure. He gripped the mic tighter, knuckles white, determined to push through his prepared material. Sweat started beading on his forehead. We would practice for hours, and Evan always taught me to never give up on anything. His girlfriend Megan reached for his arm, trying to get him to stop, but Adrien yanked away from her. He was committed to delivering his full 20-minute speech no matter what happened. The thing is, when you've spent years mocking someone for something, and then it happens to you in front of everyone who matters, that's a special kind of hell. My brother deserves the best wife in the world, and Julia is exactly that. The irony was absolutely perfect. Years of timing my words with stopwatches, recording me for TikTok, mocking my speech at every possible opportunity, and here he was struggling with the exact same thing in front of everyone who mattered most to him. People checked phones awkwardly, stared at their plates. The bride, Julia, looked mortified, honestly, like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Evan signaled him to wrap up, but Adrien was in full panic mode now, sweating through his expensive tuxedo. So let's all raise our glasses high to Evan and Julia for their beautiful future together. When he finally finished, applause was polite but uncomfortable. That kind of clapping where people feel obligated but really just want it to be over. Adrien immediately disappeared to the bathroom without making eye contact with anyone. I could see him practically running across the reception hall. I waited maybe 20 minutes before following him, found him splashing cold water on his bright red face, his bow tie undone and hanging loose. That was a rough speech, I said simply, leaning against the bathroom doorframe. He looked at me in the mirror for the first time in years, really looked at me. Then his expression changed. Not embarrassment, something darker. You think you won? He started laughing, but it wasn't a happy sound, more like something breaking. I invited the CEO of that company you interviewed with. He's sitting at table 5. My blood went cold. I'd had 3 rounds of interviews with David Syntech last month. Dream job, senior marketing position. I told him you have a severe speech impediment that makes you unemployable. Showed him all my old videos. He stepped closer, water dripping from his hands onto the fancy bathroom tile. Then I convinced him to offer you a presentation opportunity in front of everyone here. Right now, actually. The DJ's voice boomed outside. Can Oliver come to the microphone, please? I stood there processing what Adrien just told me. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Every single guest out there. The CEO of David Syntech watching. Adrien's revenge served cold. gold, but then something clicked in my head. I'd photographed those speech therapy certificates weeks ago. I walked out of that bathroom and straight to the DJ booth. Adrien followed me, that smirk still plastered on his face like he'd already won. But I didn't take the microphone. Instead, I pulled out my phone and asked the DJ something. "Can you display content from my phone on the projection screen?" The DJ looked confused but nodded. "Yeah, man, we've got the hookup for that. People do slideshow presentations sometimes." Adrien's smirk faltered just a little. "What are you doing?" I connected my phone. The projection screen behind the head table lit up. First image: Adrien's speech therapy intake form from 1995. Age 6. Diagnosis: severe developmental stuttering requiring intensive intervention. The room went dead silent. Second image: progress report spanning 5 years. Weekly sessions. His parents drove him an hour each way to a specialist. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice steady, no stutter at all because I wasn't nervous anymore. "I want to share something about Adrien that he's been hiding for decades." Adrien rushed toward me, face going from red to purple. "You piece of..." Third image: a photo of young Adrien wearing a medical alert bracelet. The documentation noted he'd been so severely affected by his stutter that he'd stopped speaking entirely for 6 months. "This man," I continued, gesturing to the screen, "spent years in speech therapy for the exact same condition he's been mocking me for since 2019. He filmed me for TikTok. He timed how long it took me to speak. He made every family gathering hell." Fourth image: the TikTok videos he'd made of me, side by side with his therapy records. Adrien lunged for the DJ booth, but he wasn't watching where he was going. His foot caught on the cake table leg. Time seemed to slow down. He stumbled forward, arms windmilling, and went face first directly into the 3-tier wedding cake. The impact was spectacular. Frosting exploded everywhere. The top tier, the one with the little bride and groom figures, toppled onto his head. Cream cheese frosting coated his hair, his face, his expensive tuxedo. The room erupted, not in gasps, in laughter, real laughter. Cell phones came out everywhere. People were recording from every angle. Adrien tried to stand up, slipped in the frosting, fell again. His hands were covered in white and blue icing. A chunk of cake slid down his forehead. "Get it off!" he yelled, but his hands just smeared more frosting around. He looked like a deranged snowman. I walked calmly to table 5 while Adrien flailed in the cake debris. The CEO, James Davidson, was in his mid-50s, suit probably worth more than my car. He was watching everything with this expression I couldn't quite read. "Mr. Davidson," I said, extending my hand, "I'm Oliver. I believe Adrien may have shared some inaccurate information about me." He stood and shook my hand firmly. That would be an understatement. He gestured to the screen still displaying Adrien's therapy records. "I have a nephew with a stutter. If Adrien said half of what I think he said to you, he's lucky you only humiliated him instead of pressing charges. I can send you my actual qualifications," I offered. "My portfolio, references, everything." "Already impressed," Davidson said. "The way you handled this ambush, composure under pressure, is exactly what we need. My assistant will email you Monday morning. Let's set up a proper interview." I just stood there, stunned. Adrien had tried to destroy me and instead handed me exactly what I wanted. Behind us, Adrien finally managed to stand. Julia, the bride, stormed over to him. Her white dress had cake splatter on it from his fall. "You humiliated me," she screamed. "At my own wedding. Your stupid revenge scheme destroyed everything." Evan appeared next to her, and I'd never seen him that angry. His face was twisted up in rage. "You invited someone to sabotage Oliver at our wedding? He humiliated me first." Adrien gestured at the screen wildly, flinging frosting. "Everyone saw..." Evan punched him. Just straight up connected his fist with Adrien's jaw. Adrien went down hard, landing back in the cake debris. Blood mixed with the frosting. His lip was split open. "Get out," Evan said quietly. Too quietly. "Get out of my wedding." Security was already moving in, 2 guys in black suits. They grabbed Adrien under his arms and started dragging him toward the exit. He was covered in frosting, bleeding from his mouth, and the entire wedding crowd parted like the Red Sea to let them through. Nobody helped him. Nobody said a word in his defense. As they hauled him past me, Adrien locked eyes with me. "This isn't over," he hissed. "Yeah," I said. "It really is." They threw him out the front entrance. Literally threw him. He landed on the concrete driveway of the venue, frosting covered and bleeding. Someone's aunt started clapping. Then everyone joined in. Standing ovation for Adrien's exit. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is James Davidson. Excellent performance tonight. My office, Monday, 9 a.m. Let's discuss your future with Davidson Tech." I stared at that message for a solid minute, man. Adrien had spent months planning my destruction, and instead engineered my biggest career breakthrough. The rest of the reception was actually pretty great. They had a backup cake, and the DJ played everything from classic rock to modern hits. People kept coming up to me, shaking my hand, apologizing for laughing at Adrien's jokes over the years. Aunt Helen hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "I always hated how he treated you," she whispered. "Your grandfather would be so proud." I left around midnight, drove home feeling like I was floating. My apartment was this small 1-bedroom place in a complex that had seen better days, but it was mine. I parked, walked up to my door, and just stood there for a second, letting everything sink in. Then I heard pounding. Not on my door, on someone else's apartment door down the hall, drunk yelling. I walked around the corner and saw Adrien, still covered in dried frosting and blood. His tuxedo was trashed. He was hammering on my actual door with both fists. "Oliver!" he screamed. "Open this door! Open it right now!" "I'm right here," I said quietly. He spun around, lost his balance, caught himself on the doorframe. His eyes were bloodshot. He reeked of alcohol and rage. "You destroyed everything," he slurred. "Everything I built. You ruined my life." "No," I said, pulling out my phone and starting to record. My doorbell camera was already catching this, but I wanted a clear angle. "You tried to ruin mine and failed. There's a difference." "You think you're so smart?" He laughed, that broken sound again. "You don't even know half of what I've done to you." "What are you talking about?" "College," he said, stumbling forward. I backed up, keeping my phone steady. "Your girlfriend Jessica? The one who dumped you junior year? That was me. I told her you were cheating. I showed her fake texts I made. She believed every word. My blood went cold. Jessica had been everything to me. When she left, I'd nearly dropped out. And your first job," Adrien continued, warming to his confession now. "Alcohol had destroyed whatever filter he had left. Remember getting fired after 3 months? I called your boss, pretended to be a reference from your previous employer, told him you'd been let go for stealing. He fired you the next day. He was pounding on my door again now, and I could hear neighbors opening their doors, watching. Mrs. Klein from 3B had her phone out recording too. I've been sabotaging you for years," Adrien screamed. "Every time you were about to succeed, I knocked you back down, because you don't deserve success. You're weak, you're broken, you're— Someone call the cops," Mr. Park from 3D said. "This guy is losing it." Adrien spun around. "Shut up. All of you? This is between me and— It's not between us anymore," I said. "You just confessed to multiple crimes. Fraud, defamation, harassment, and I have it all recorded." Adrien's face went slack as he realized what he'd done. You tricked me." "No, you're just drunk and stupid. I sent the video to my email immediately. Now get out before the cops arrive." He stumbled backward, tripped over his own feet, and ran. I heard his car start up somewhere in the parking lot, drunk driving on top of everything else. I called 911 and reported him. The police showed up 15 minutes later. I gave them the footage. They said they'd look into it. Mrs. Klein gave them her recording too. I barely slept that night. My mind was racing with everything Adrien had confessed to. Jessica, my first job. What else had he destroyed that I didn't even know about? Monday morning came. 9 a.m. at Davidson Tech's offices downtown. Glass building, fancy lobby, the works. James Davidson's assistant met me, led me to a conference room that overlooked the city. But before Davidson arrived, I sent the doorbell. Footage to every family member in our group chat. My parents, Aunt Helen, Uncle Frank, cousins, everyone. Along with Adrien's therapy records and photos from the wedding cake disaster, the group chat exploded. My phone buzzed nonstop with replies. "Aunt Beverly," Adrien's mom. "What is the meaning of this?" "Uncle Frank," Adrien's dad. "Is this real? The therapy records?" My mom. "I never knew he'd been in therapy." "And stealing Oliver's girlfriend?" I typed one message. "Adrien has been sabotaging me for years. Ruined my relationships, got me fired, all while mocking me for something he suffered from as a child. This ends now." Aunt Helen. "Beverly, Frank, we need to have a serious conversation about your son." My phone rang. "Beverly," I answered. "Oliver, I don't know what to say," she said. Her voice was shaking. I had no idea Adrien was doing these things. The therapy, we told him never to mention it. We thought we were protecting him from embarrassment. You taught him to hide it, I said. And then he weaponized it against me. Frank and I have decided. Adrien can't stay at our house anymore. He needs to face consequences. What about everything he's done to me? The jobs he cost me? The relationships? I don't have answers for that, Oliver. I'm so sorry. She hung up. 2 minutes later, another text in the group chat. This time from Uncle Frank. Adrien is no longer welcome at our home until he makes amends. We failed as parents to see what he was becoming. James Davidson walked into the conference room right as I was processing all of this. He had coffee, offered me one. We sat down. Crazy weekend, he said with a slight smile. That's one way to put it. We talked for 2 hours. He asked about my marketing experience, my vision for digital campaigns, how I handled stress. I showed him my portfolio, the real one, not whatever garbage Adrien had made up. We clicked. He offered me the position on the spot. Senior marketing director, 6-figure salary, benefits, stock options, everything I'd been working toward for years. You start in 2 weeks, Davidson said. Gives you time to relocate if needed. I was walking on air when I left that building. I called my mom, told her everything. She cried happy tears, said she was proud of me. I got home around noon. My apartment door was kicked in. The frame was splintered, hanging at an angle. I stepped inside carefully, already calling 911. The place was destroyed, couch cushions slashed, TV screen shattered, drawers dumped out everywhere. And in my bedroom, my laptop was gone. The laptop with 5 years of marketing portfolios, freelance projects, everything I'd used to land the Davidson Tech job. Spray painted on my bedroom wall in red. You'll pay. My backup drives were gone too. The external hard drives where I kept copies of everything. All my work, just gone. The The police came, took photos, filed a report, said they'd look into it, but these kinds of break-ins were hard to solve. I told them about Adrien, showed them the doorbell footage from his drunken confession. They said they'd follow up. I spent the rest of the day at my parents' house, on their computer, trying to recover what I could from cloud storage. Some stuff was saved, but not everything. Years of projects, just gone. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. Still have your backups. Want them back? They're for sale. $10K. I called the number. Adrien answered. "Hey, cuz," he said, sounding way too pleased with himself. "Sleep well last night? You broke into my apartment. Can you prove it? I mean, I was at a bar all morning. Got witnesses. What do you want, Adrien?" "I told you, $10,000. Cash. Or I sell your precious backup drives to Stellar Marketing." Stellar was Davidson Tech's biggest competitor. If they got my work, they could see everything I was planning to pitch. "You're insane." "No, Oliver. I'm evening the score. You humiliated me, I take away your career?" "Fair's fair." He hung up. I sat there at my parents' kitchen table, trying to figure out what to do. Call the police again? They hadn't done anything useful yet. Pay him? That would just encourage more blackmail. Then I had an idea. I called Adrien back. "Fine. Meet me at the waterfront bar tonight, 8 p.m. Bring the drives. Bring the cash." "I will." I hung up and called Davidson, explained the situation. He was quiet for a long moment. "That's corporate espionage if he sells those drives," Davidson said finally. "Let me make some calls." That night, I showed up at Waterfront Bar at 7:45. It's this dive place near the river, sticky floors and bad lighting. Adrien was already there, sitting in a back booth with my backup drives on the table in front of him. I slid into the booth across from him. "Let's see them." He pushed one drive toward me. "This one's free, a sample. The other two will cost you." I plugged the drive into my phone using an adapter. It looked legitimate. My files were there. "Where's the money?" Adrien asked. "There is no money," I said. His face went dark. "Then we have a problem." "No, you have a problem." I leaned back. "You just admitted to stealing proprietary work product, corporate espionage, and you're attempting to extort me. You're recording this?" "Don't need to. You're on the bar's security cameras. And the guy sitting behind you at the bar? That's Detective Morrison. He's been following your antics all week." Adrien spun around. Sure enough, a guy in a leather jacket at the bar turned around, flashed a badge. He wasn't a detective. He was Davidson Tech's head of security. But Adrien didn't know that. Adrien lunged for the drives, but I was faster, grabbed them, stood up. "You're done, Adrien." He tried to chase me, but 2 actual police officers walked in. Turns out Davidson really had made calls. They arrested Adrien right there for breaking and entering, theft, and attempted extortion. As they cuffed him, Adrien was screaming, "You set me up. You're dead. I'll destroy you." "You already tried," I said, "multiple times. Turns out I'm harder to destroy than you thought." They took him away. I drove home with my backup drives, my files, everything I needed. My apartment door was still broken, but at least I had my work back. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number, female voice. "Is this Oliver? Who's asking?" "My name is Christine. I'm Adrien's ex-girlfriend from college. I heard what happened at Evan's wedding." "Okay, I need to tell you something. Adrien did the same thing to me, and to at least 2 other people in our family." She explained that Adrien had sabotaged her graduate school application, spread rumors that got his cousin Tyler fired from a teaching job, and convinced another cousin to invest in a fake business that Adrien pocketed the money from. "He has a pattern," Christine said. "Whenever someone in the family is about to succeed, he tears them down. I have documentation if you need it." I met with Christine the next day. She brought a folder thick with printed emails, text messages, even recorded phone calls. Adrien had been systematically sabotaging family members for over a decade. We compiled everything and sent it to Aunt Beverly and Uncle Frank. This time, they didn't make excuses. They cut Adrien off completely. Bank accounts, phone plan, car insurance, everything. He was on his own. Adrien lost his sales job too. Turns out his boss saw the viral videos of the cake incident and drunken confession. Decided Adrien wasn't representing their company values. He was unemployed, broke, and facing criminal charges. I thought that would be the end of it. I really did. But Adrien had one more move planned. 3 days before I was supposed to start at Davidson Tech, I got a call from James Davidson himself. His voice was serious. "Oliver, we need to talk. Someone contacted me claiming you stole work from your previous employer. They have evidence." My stomach dropped. "Who contacted you?" "Wouldn't give a name, but they sent documentation that looks concerning. We need to investigate before your start date." I knew immediately it was Adrien. This was his final play. If he couldn't have success, nobody could. "When can we meet?" I asked. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m., my office. Bring any documentation you have proving these files are yours." I spent all night pulling together proof, cloud storage timestamps, email chains with clients, early drafts with metadata showing I'd created them. By morning, I had a file folder 2 inches thick, but I also called Detective Morrison, the real one this time, not Davidson's security guy. Explained the situation. "Sounds like witness intimidation and harassment," Morrison said. "We're already building a case against Adrien for the break-in. This adds to it. Can you help me set something up?" I asked. The next day, I arrived at Davidson Tech at 2 p.m., but I didn't go alone. Detective Morrison came with me, in plain clothes. We walked into Davidson's office together. "This is Detective Morrison," I explained. "He's been investigating Adrien for multiple crimes. I believe Adrien is behind these allegations." Davidson nodded slowly. "The person who contacted me is supposed to call back today at 3 p.m. They wanted to discuss selling the evidence. Selling it. Morrison leaned forward. That's extortion. We waited. 3 p.m. came. Davidson's phone rang. He put it on speaker. Mr. Davidson, this is the person who contacted you about Oliver. Adrien's voice, not even disguised. The idiot was calling from his own phone. Yes, Davidson said carefully. You mentioned evidence? I have proof Oliver stole proprietary information from Stellar Marketing. Client lists, campaign strategies, everything. Worth a lot to them. But for $50,000, I'll sell it to you instead. Keep your new hire clean. Morrison was already signaling to someone outside the office, tracing the call. That's an interesting offer, Davidson said. Can you explain how you obtained this evidence? I have my sources. Do we have a deal or not? I have a question first, I said, leaning toward the phone. Hi, Adrien. Silence on the other end. Then, Oliver, you son of a... You're on speakerphone with my new boss and a police detective. We've been recording this whole call. I could hear Adrien breathing heavily. You think you're so smart? No, I think you're predictable. You've been sabotaging people for so long, you don't even know how to function any other way. I'll destroy you. You tried, I interrupted. Multiple times. You cost me relationships, jobs. You broke into my home, and now you're attempting corporate espionage and extortion. You're done, Adrien. This is it. There's nothing left for you to take. Morrison spoke up. Adrien, this is Detective Morrison with the Metro Police. We've traced this call. Officers are heading to your location now. I'd advise you to cooperate. The line went dead. Adrien hung up. Within an hour, they arrested him again. This time the charges were serious. Breaking and entering, theft, extortion, attempted corporate espionage, witness intimidation. The DA was talking about actual prison time. Aunt Beverly called me that evening. She was crying. I don't understand what happened to him, she said. We raised him better than this. You taught him to hide his weaknesses, I said gently, instead of accepting them. He never learned to deal with vulnerability, so he attacked anyone who showed it. What's going to happen to him? That's up to the courts now. And Adrien, my start date at Davidson Tech got pushed back a week while they investigated Adrien's claims. But once they saw all my documentation, proving every file was legitimately mine, they cleared me completely. I started the job on a Monday. Corner office, view of the city, team of 6 people reporting to me. Everything I'd worked for. That same day, Grandmother Helen called. She wanted to talk about Adrien. I need to tell you something, she said. Something I should have shared years ago. We met for coffee. She brought a folder worn at the edges. I witnessed Adrien's therapy sessions when he was young, Helen explained. Beverly and Frank were working, so I took him. Every week for 5 years. She opened the folder. Inside were notes, observations, even some drawings Adrien had made as a child during therapy sessions. He was so ashamed, Helen continued. The other kids at school mocked him. He stopped talking entirely for almost a year. The therapist said it was selective mutism triggered by trauma from the bullying. I looked through the documents. There were notes from teachers, psychiatrist evaluations, even letters from Beverly and Frank to the school district demanding they address the bullying. When he finally overcame it, Helen said softly, he swore no one would ever know. He made Beverly and Frank promise never to mention it. I kept these documents because I thought, I don't know what I thought, that maybe one day they'd matter. They matter now, I said. This proves he knew exactly what he was doing to me. He lived through it. He knew the pain. That's what makes it worse, Helen said. He knew, and he did it anyway. She pushed the folder toward me. Use these however you need to. Adrien needs to face what he's become. The case against Adrien built quickly. Christine came forward with her evidence. Tyler, the cousin he got fired, filed a civil suit. The fake business investment cousin, Nathan, did too. Adrien's ex-girlfriend Megan gave a deposition about his controlling behavior and financial abuse. Adrien tried to fight it. His lawyer attempted to paint him as the victim, driven to desperation by family rejection. But the evidence was overwhelming. 4 weeks after Evan's wedding, there was a settlement hearing. All the civil cases were being addressed at once. I sat in the courtroom next to Christine, Tyler, and Nathan. Grandmother Helen was there too. Adrien walked in wearing an orange jumpsuit. He'd been denied bail after violating a restraining order. He'd tried to contact Evan to beg him to drop the charges. When he saw us all sitting there together, his face went pale. The hearing lasted 3 hours. Adrien's lawyer tried to negotiate reduced charges in exchange for restitution, but the DA wasn't having it. Mr. Adrien has systematically targeted family members and associates for over a decade, the DA said. This isn't a single incident of poor judgment. This is a pattern of predatory behavior. In the end, Adrien pleaded guilty to multiple charges, avoiding trial in exchange for a lighter sentence but still facing 2 years in prison, 5 years probation, and court-ordered therapy. He also had to pay restitution. To me, to Christine, to Tyler, to Nathan. The total came to over $200,000. I don't have that kind of money, Adrien told the judge. Then you'll be paying it off for a binding. Long time, the judge replied. Court is adjourned. As they led Adrien out, he looked at me one last time. Not angry anymore, just defeated, broken. I didn't feel victorious, just tired. 2 months into my job at Davidson Tech, I got another call, this time from Evan. "Hey, Oliver, it's Evan. Can we talk?" We met at a coffee shop near my office. Evan looked exhausted. Julia was with him and she looked worse. "We wanted to apologize," Evan said, "for everything. For not seeing what Adrien was doing all those years. For not stopping him. You couldn't have known," I started. "We should have," Julia interrupted. "Everyone laughed at his jokes about your stutter. We all enabled him. I'm so sorry." "We're testifying at his sentencing hearing next month," Evan added, "against him. We think the judge should know exactly what kind of person he's been." The sentencing hearing was in November. The courtroom was packed. Our entire extended family showed up, some for Adrien, most against him. Beverly and Frank sat in the front row, looking years older than they had at Evan's wedding. The prosecution called witnesses. Christine went first, detailing how Adrien had sabotaged her graduate school applications because he was jealous of her academic success. Tyler explained how Adrien had spread rumors that got him fired from a teaching position he loved. Nathan talked about the fake business investment, how Adrien had taken $30,000 and disappeared. Then it was my turn. I walked to the witness stand, got sworn in, sat down. Adrien stared at me from the defense table. The prosecutor asked me to explain Adrien's treatment of me over the years. I started with the Christmas dinner in 2019, moved through the TikTok videos, the wedding ambush, the break-in, the attempted extortion. "What impact has this had on your life?" the prosecutor asked. "He cost me relationships," I said. "A job I loved, years of work, but more than that, he made me doubt myself. Every time something went wrong, I wondered if I'd caused it, if I was the problem. It took me a long time to realize the problem was him." Adrien's lawyer tried to cross-examine me, suggesting I'd provoked Adrien by displaying his therapy records at the wedding. "He tried to sabotage my career first," I replied. "I defended myself with the truth. If the truth humiliated him, that's on him." Grandmother Helen testified next. She brought the full documentation of Adrien's childhood therapy, the bullying he'd endured, everything. "I'm testifying against my grandson," she said, voice shaking, "because he needs to understand that suffering doesn't justify cruelty. He knew what it felt like to be mocked for his speech. He did it to Oliver anyway. That's not trauma, that's choice." When all the testimony was done, the judge asked Adrien if he wanted to speak. Adrien stood slowly. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. "I don't have an excuse," he said quietly. "Everything they said is true. I was jealous of Oliver, of Christine, of everyone who seemed to have what I wanted. Success came easy for them, or it seemed like it did. I had to work so hard to overcome my stutter, to become confident, to be the person everyone expected. And then there was Oliver succeeding despite his stutter. It made me angry. Like, if I had to hide my weakness, why didn't he?" He paused, swallowed hard. I convinced myself he was faking it for sympathy, that he was using it as an excuse. But really, I just hated seeing someone handle their struggle better than I handled mine. The judge listened, expression neutral. "I destroyed relationships, careers. I stole. I lied. I hurt people who loved me. And for what? To feel superior? To prove I was better." Adrien's voice cracked. "I proved the opposite. I'm a coward who attacks people weaker than me because I'm terrified of being weak again." He sat down. The courtroom was silent. The judge deliberated for maybe 10 minutes. Then she delivered the sentence. "Mr. Adrien, your actions demonstrate a pattern of predatory behavior spanning over a decade. You targeted vulnerable individuals, including family members, and systematically destroyed their opportunities for personal gain or satisfaction. The court sentences you to 4 years in state prison, to be followed by 7 years of probation. You will pay full restitution to all victims. You will complete court-mandated therapy for the duration of your probation. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Adrien whispered. They led him away. Beverly was crying. Frank had his arm around her, looking defeated. I left the courthouse and went straight to work. Had a campaign presentation at 3 p.m. Life moved on. My first major project at Davidson Tech was a digital rebranding for a client worth $5 million. High stakes. I put together a team, developed the strategy, pitched it to the client in January. We won the account. Davidson called me into his office after the presentation. "That was exceptional work, Oliver. The client loved your approach." "Thank you, sir." "I have to ask, and you don't have to answer, but how did you develop such resilience? After everything your cousin put you through?" I thought about it for a moment. "I didn't have a choice. Either let him define me or define myself. I chose myself." Davidson nodded. "Keep that attitude. You're going places." 3 months later, Adrien got out on early release for good behavior, 2 years into his 4-year sentence. He was required to attend therapy twice a week and perform 500 hours of community service. I didn't hear from him directly, but I heard through family that he was working at a warehouse, living in a halfway house, trying to rebuild. Then, 6 months after his release, I got a letter, handwritten, addressed to my office. "Oliver, I know this letter won't fix anything. I know I destroyed years of your life, but I need you to know I understand now. Therapy helped me see what I was doing and why. I was terrified of being that scared kid again, the one who couldn't speak, who got mocked, who felt powerless. So I became the bully. I became the person I hated most. You succeeded despite your stutter. You didn't hide it. You didn't let it define you. And that made me hate you because I couldn't do the same. I let my past trauma become my identity, then weaponized it against anyone who reminded me of my weakness. I cost you Jessica, your first job, years of work, peace of mind. I can't give any of that back. But but I need you to know I take full responsibility. You didn't provoke this. You didn't deserve this. This was entirely my failure as a person. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a response. I just needed you to know I finally understand what I did. Adrien. I read that letter 3 times. Tried to figure out if it was genuine or another manipulation. Eventually decided it didn't matter. Adrien's growth or lack thereof wasn't my responsibility. I filed the letter away and moved on. That same week, Davidson offered me a promotion. Executive Director of Marketing. Even higher salary. More responsibility. I accepted. But here's the thing nobody tells you about success after trauma. It doesn't erase what happened. I still flinch sometimes when people laugh suddenly at dinners. I still check my backup drives obsessively. I still have nightmares about standing in front of crowds, unable to speak. Therapy helped. I started seeing someone after everything went down with Adrien. Worked through the damage, the self-doubt, the anger. A year after the sentencing, I ran into Adrien at a grocery store, completely by chance. I was in the cereal aisle and suddenly there he was, pushing a cart, wearing a warehouse uniform. We made eye contact. He froze. "Oliver," he said carefully. "Adrien." Silence. Other shoppers moved around us, oblivious. "I sent you a letter," he finally said. "I got it. Did you read it?" "I did." More silence. He looked different, thinner, tired. The confidence that used to radiate off him was gone, replaced by something more careful, more guarded. I meant what I said, every word. "Okay, that's it? Just okay?" I sighed. "What do you want me to say, Adrien? That I forgive you? That we're good now? We're not. You systematically destroyed my life for years. You admitted it. You went to prison for it. Your apology doesn't change what happened. I know, I wanted you to know I'm different now." "That's great. I genuinely hope you are. But that doesn't mean I have to be part of your redemption arc." He nodded slowly. "Fair enough." I walked away, didn't look back, checked out, drove home, went about my life. Here's what I learned. Revenge isn't as satisfying as people think. Standing over someone's defeat doesn't heal what they broke inside you. The real victory was building a life Adrien couldn't touch. But that didn't mean I was done protecting myself. 6 months after the grocery store encounter, Davidson called me into his office. His expression was serious. "We have a problem," he said. "Someone's been trying to access our client database." IT traced the attempts to an IP address associated with Stellar Marketing. My first thought was Adrien, but he'd been clean since release. No violations, no contact. "What kind of access on?" I asked. "They were trying to get into client files, campaign strategies, everything we've been working on." Then Davidson showed me the login attempts. The username trying to access our system. Oliver Adrien, 1995. My blood went cold. "That's not me. We know, but someone's trying to frame you. Make it look like you're selling our information." "Adrien," I said immediately. "He's on probation. Would he risk it? He already risked everything once. Why not again?" We contacted the police. Detective Morrison, who'd worked the original case, got involved. They traced the IP address. It led to a library computer in Adrien's neighborhood. Security footage from the library showed Adrien using that exact computer at the times of the access attempts. They arrested him the next day for violating his probation and attempting corporate espionage. Again. This time, there was no plea deal, no reduced sentence. The judge revoked his probation and reinstated his full original sentence, plus additional time for the new charges. Adrien got 7 years, no early release option. Aunt Beverly called me after the sentencing, crying. "He keeps destroying himself. I don't understand. He can't let go," I told her. "He sees my success as his failure. As long as I'm doing well, he'll keep trying to drag me down." "What do we do?" "Nothing. He made his choices. He has to live with them." The family fractured after that. Some people blamed me for pressing charges again, said I should have let it go. Others supported me. The extended family stopped having reunions. Too much damage, too much pain. But you know what? My life got better. I got engaged. Met someone through work, actually. Her name's Sophie, and she's an artist who does graphic design for marketing campaigns. We met on a joint project, started talking about color theory and brand psychology, and somehow ended up dating. She knows everything about Adrien. I told her early, figured it was better to be upfront. She didn't run, said everyone has messy family situations. We got engaged last month, small proposal, just us at the park where we had our first real date. I didn't invite Adrien to the wedding. I didn't even tell him it was happening. Some bridges you burn completely. Sophie and I got married in April. Small ceremony, immediate family only. Evan came, which surprised me. Julia too. They divorced actually after everything with Adrien. The wedding disaster had exposed cracks in their relationship they couldn't fix. But Evan said he wanted to support me anyway. "You handled everything with grace," Evan told me at the reception. "More grace than Adrien deserved." "I handled it with anger and fear," I corrected. "But I survived it. That's the grace part," he said. Grandmother Helen was there too. Almost 85 now, but sharp as ever. She pulled me aside during dinner. "Your grandfather would be proud," she said. "You didn't let Adrien's cruelty make you cruel." "I wanted to," I admitted. "Sometimes I still want to." The fact that you fight that impulse is what matters. My career continued climbing. 2 years after the grocery store encounter, Davidson promoted me to Chief Marketing Officer. I was 32 years old, running marketing for a company worth $200 million. I hired my own team. built campaigns that won industry awards, got invited to speak at conferences. And Adrien, he was still in prison, still serving his 7-year sentence, still writing letters I didn't read. Because here's the thing about closure. It doesn't come from the other person. It comes from deciding you're done letting them affect you. Adrien spent decades trying to control my narrative, trying to make me believe I was less than him. The real victory wasn't destroying him. It was proving him wrong. But the story doesn't end there. Because of course it doesn't. Nothing with Adrien ever truly ends cleanly. 4 years into his sentence, I got a call from the prison chaplain. Adrien wanted to speak to me, said it was urgent. I'm not interested, I told the chaplain. He's sick, the chaplain said. Really sick. The doctors are running tests, but it's not looking good. That's not my problem. He specifically asked for you, said he needed to tell you something. I almost hung up. Almost said no, but something in the chaplain's voice made me pause. What kind of sick? Aggressive cancer, stage 4. They don't think he has much time. I sat with that information for 3 days. Talked to Sophie about it. She said it was my choice, no judgment either way. Finally, I decided to go. Not for Adrien, for myself. To see if there was anything left to say. The prison was 2 hours away. Gray concrete building, barbed wire, the whole depressing setup. They processed me through security, led me to a visiting room. Adrien came in wearing prison blues, shackled at the wrists. He looked terrible, thin, pale, like he'd aged 20 years and 4. We sat across from each other, a glass barrier between us. Picked up the phones. Thanks for coming, Adrien said. His voice was weak. The chaplain said you're sick. Pancreatic cancer. Spread to my liver. They're saying maybe 6 months, probably less. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me felt satisfaction. Karma finally catching up. Part of me just felt sad. Tired of all of it. Why did you want to see me? I asked. Adrien took a shaky breath. I need to tell you something. Something I never told anyone. Okay. When I was 8, after the stuttering got really bad, I tried to kill myself. I wasn't expecting that. What? I took pills from my mom's medicine cabinet. Thought if I couldn't talk, I shouldn't exist. They found me in time, rushed, me to the hospital, pumped my stomach, the whole thing. He was crying now, tears running down his gaunt face. My parents made everyone promise never to mention it. Said it would ruin my future if people knew, so we buried it. Pretended it never happened. Adrien, I never dealt with it, he continued. The suicide attempt, the bullying, the shame of needing speech therapy. I just shoved it all down and became someone else. Someone confident, someone successful, someone who would never be weak again. And when you saw me succeeding with my stutter visible, I saw everything I'd tried to kill inside myself, and I wanted to destroy it, destroy you. Because if you could succeed while being vulnerable, it meant I'd wasted my whole life hiding. The visiting room was quiet except for the muffled conversations around us. I'm dying, Adrien said softly, and I wasted my entire life being angry at the wrong person. I should have been angry at the kids who bullied me, at the systems that made me feel ashamed, at myself for not getting proper help, but instead I took it out on you, on Christine, on Tyler, on everyone who reminded me of my pain. I can't forgive you, I said. Not for everything. I'm not asking you to. I just needed you to understand why. Not as an excuse, but so you know it was never really about you. It was always about me hating myself. We sat there for another 10 minutes, not really talking, just existing in the same space. Finally, I said, I hope you find peace, Adrien. Whatever that looks like for you. I hope you already have, he replied. I left, drove home, told Sophie everything. She held me while I cried, not for Adrien exactly, but for all the years wasted on this toxic cycle. Adrien died 7 weeks later. The chaplain called to let me know. Small service, immediate family only. I didn't go. Aunt Beverly called me the day after the funeral. He left you something in his will. I don't want anything from him. It's not money, it's a letter and a box. She brought them to my office a few days later. The letter was sealed, my name written in Adrien's shaky handwriting. The box was small, wooden, with a lock. I opened the letter first. Oliver, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. That's probably a relief for you. It should be. Inside this box is every piece of evidence I collected during my years of sabotaging you and others. Fake emails I created, recordings of phone calls where I spread lies, screenshots of social media posts I made under fake accounts. Everything. I kept them as trophies, reminders of my victories over people I saw as threats. Looking at them now just makes me sick. I'm giving them to you because you deserve to know the full extent of what I did. You deserve to have proof for any legal action you want to take, even after I'm dead. You deserve closure. The key to the box is taped to the back of this letter. I spent my life trying to make you feel small so I could feel big. The irony is that you were always bigger than me in every way that mattered. You survived your trauma without becoming traumatic to others. I couldn't do that. I'm sorry. I know it's not enough. It will never be enough, but I'm sorry anyway. Adrien, I found the key, opened the box. Inside were USB drives, file folders, printed emails, years of documentation, everything he'd done, meticulously organized. There was also a separate envelope labeled for Aunt Helen. I looked through the materials, found evidence of things I didn't even know about, job applications he'd sabotaged before I even knew I was applying, relationships he'd poisoned before they started, opportunities he'd destroyed before I knew they existed. The scope of his interference was staggering. I took everything to a lawyer, filed civil suits against Adrien's estate for damages. The evidence was so overwhelming that the estate settled immediately. I got a substantial sum. So did Christine, Tyler, and Nathan. I donated most of my settlement to a Stuttering Awareness Foundation. Seemed appropriate. The envelope for Aunt Helen contained a letter apologizing for lying to her about his therapy experiences, for hiding his suicide attempt, for becoming the person he swore he'd never be. She cried when I gave it to her. I should have seen it, the pain he was in. He hid it from everyone, I said. That's not your fault. But I helped him hide it. We all did. We taught him that vulnerability was shameful. She was right in a way. The family's response to Adrien's childhood trauma had set him on this path, but he'd made his own choices along the way. Years passed. My career continued thriving. Sophie and I had a kid, a daughter named Grace. She's 3 now, learning to talk, sometimes mixing up her words in adorable ways. I watch her struggle with pronunciation, get frustrated, try again, and I'm gentle with her, patient. Because I know what it's like when words don't cooperate. Sometimes I think about Adrien, wonder what he could have been if he'd dealt with his trauma instead of weaponizing it, if he'd let people see his vulnerability instead of attacking theirs. But mostly I don't think about him at all. He doesn't get that space in my head anymore. I'm 37 now, CMO of a company I helped build, married to someone who sees all of me and doesn't flinch, father to a daughter who will never be ashamed of her struggles because I'll make sure of it. Adrien spent his life trying to tear me down. Instead, he taught me exactly who I didn't want to become. And that might be the only valuable thing he ever gave me. Last month, I got an invitation to speak at a conference about overcoming workplace adversity. They wanted me to share my story. I almost declined, but Sophie encouraged me to do it. So I stood on that stage in front of 500 people and told them about Adrien, about the stuttering, about the sabotage, about how close I came to letting his cruelty define me. The person who tries to destroy you, I said into the microphone, is usually destroying themselves first. Their cruelty toward you is really hatred toward themselves. Understanding that doesn't make it hurt less, but it helps you stop taking it personally. Someone in the audience raised their hand. How do you forgive someone like that? I thought about it. I don't know if I have forgiven him, but I've released him. He doesn't control my narrative anymore. He doesn't get to determine my worth. That's not forgiveness exactly, but it's freedom. The presentation went well. People came up afterward to share their own stories of workplace sabotage, family trauma, overcoming cruelty. One person told me, "Your cousin's story could have ended with you becoming bitter and angry. Instead, you became successful and kind." How? Therapy, I said honestly, and choosing every single day not to let his poison infect me. Some days I failed at that, but I kept choosing. Driving home that night, I thought about the Oliver from 8 years ago, the one who stood at Evan's wedding, humiliated and planning revenge, the one who wanted to hurt Adrien as badly as Adrien had hurt him. I'm glad I didn't become that person. Not because Adrien deserved mercy, but because I deserved better than carrying that hate forever. The last piece of the story came 3 years after Adrien's death. I got a call from Christine. "You need to see this," she said. Adrien's therapist from prison published a case study, anonymized, but it's clearly about him. She sent me the link. The paper was titled "The Neuroscience of Projection: How Childhood Trauma Creates Adult Perpetrators." I read it. The therapist described Adrien's case in detail, his childhood stuttering, the bullying, the suicide attempt, the years of building a false persona, the eventual breakdown that led to targeting others with similar vulnerabilities. The conclusion was what got me. The patient never learned healthy coping mechanisms for trauma. Instead, he developed a pathological need to eliminate any reminder of his own perceived weakness. Treatment was limited by his inability to accept vulnerability even in himself. By the time he sought help, the behavioral patterns were too ingrained to fully reverse. It was clinical, detached, but it confirmed what I'd suspected. Adrien had been sick, in a way. Not an excuse for his actions, but an explanation. I forwarded the paper to Aunt Helen. She called me an hour later. "It's all here," she said quietly. "Everything we did wrong, teaching him to hide instead of heal. You did what you thought was best. And we created a monster. He created himself," I corrected. "You gave him tools to cope with stuttering. He chose to use those tools to hurt others. That's on him." But I understood what she meant. The generational patterns that taught shame instead of acceptance. The culture that valued appearance over authenticity. The systems that punished vulnerability. Adrien had been a product of all that, and he'd perpetuated it until it destroyed him. Today, I'm sitting in my office at Davidson Tech, looking out at the city. My daughter's drawing is taped to my computer monitor. A crayon sketch of our family, all holding hands. I made it. Despite everything Adrien did, everything he tried to take from me, I built a life he couldn't touch. That's the real ending. Not revenge, not forgiveness, just persistence, just survival, just choosing every single day to be more than the cruelty inflicted on you. Adrien's gone. His damage remains, little scars I carry, but they don't define me anymore. I define me, and that's something he could never take away, no matter how hard he tried. 2 weeks ago, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone I didn't know. Professional photo, worked in marketing for a tech startup in Seattle. "Hi, Oliver. You don't know me, but I was Adrien's cellmate for 6 months before he died. He talked about you constantly. At first I thought you must be the worst person alive based on his stories, But then I noticed something. Every story made Adrien look bad, not you. He was confessing, not complaining. One night he told me, "I destroyed the best person in my family because I couldn't stand being the worst." I think he wanted you to know that, but didn't know how to say it. Anyway, I looked you up and saw your success. Good for you, man. You deserved better than what he put you through. I stared at that message for a long time, tried to figure out how I felt about it. Eventually, I closed LinkedIn without responding. Some conversations don't need to be had. The past is settled now. Adrien's dead, his damage documented, his apologies delivered. Whether they were genuine or performative doesn't matter anymore. I have a company to run, a family to love, a life to live. Adrien doesn't get any more of my time, and that might be the most powerful ending of all. Actually, no, the story isn't quite over yet, because karma had one more move to make. 6 months ago, I got another call from James Davidson, but this time it wasn't about a promotion or a project. "Oliver, something strange happened. Stellar Marketing, our biggest competitor, they just went bankrupt." "What?" "Massive fraud scandal. Their CEO was running a Ponzi scheme, cooking the books for years. Everything collapsed. They're done." "Remember Stellar? The company Adrien had tried to sell my stolen work to? The company whose buyer had threatened him in that parking lot?" "Yeah, that company." Turns out Adrien's attempt to sell them my corrupted backup drives had actually introduced real ransomware into their systems. Not intentionally, I hadn't actually booby-trapped those drives, but one of them had been infected with malware from when Adrien's computer got compromised during his sloppy corporate espionage attempts. When Stellar's IT team tried to access those stolen files, the malware spread through their entire network. It exposed all their fraudulent accounting, their fake client contracts, everything they'd been hiding. The FBI investigation that followed destroyed the company completely. Davidson was laughing when he told me, "Your cousin accidentally took down our biggest competitor while trying to destroy you. That's some cosmic justice right there." I didn't laugh, just felt tired. All of Adrien's schemes, all his plotting, and in the end he'd accomplished nothing except his own destruction. Make sure to click on the screen to watch other stories.